My husband and I hired a nanny back in August to take care of our kids while we're working. The kids are on a weird schedule at school where they don't attend every day or all day, so we hired a full-time nanny named Marie. We liked Marie despite some issues with her following guidelines we discussed when we hired her. She let the kids have way too much screen time, she spent more time on her phone than with the kids, she would make messes and let the kids make messes and she wouldn't clean up after them, she had friends over without letting us know, and she let the kids pig out on junk food instead of feeding them real food. All of this had been discussed when we hired her, and we saw it all when we reviewed our security cam footage, so we sat her down about 3 different times and gave her official warnings each time. She'd improve for a while each time but go back to the way she'd been before. 3 days ago, Marie called out and said she was really sick. I told her to get better and then I'd call out from work to be with the kids. I'm in the middle of a big project at work and people not coming in hurt everyone, but I'm a mom first and I don't expect Marie to take care of the kids if she feels sick, so I called out. The next day, it was really hot out and the local water park is running an off-season special with cheap tickets, so I took the kids out, and after a while we ran into Marie and her group of friends. I really couldn't say anything except that I hoped she was feeling better. Marie started to apologize and told me that her best friend had gotten tickets at the park and she wanted to go, but she didn't think I would have given her the day off. I told her that I would have if only she told me the truth. I explained to her that she lied to me and made me call out at a time that was really inconvenient. If she told me the truth, I would have understood and have been more than happy to give her the day off and call it myself. It's the fact that she lied to me is what upset me. I added the lie to her other warnings and decided she wasn't worth keeping employed. My husband and I pay well above market rate and provide everything. All she needed to do was take care of the kids and follow a few rules we set. I took her aside and really quietly and as kindly as possible explained this to her and told her that I paid for the whole week, but she was fired. Marie started crying and her friends figured out what was happening. They called me a bitch, a Karen, a monster. My kids got upset, so I took them and left. Marie has been blowing up my phone with apologies and begging for another chance. Some of my friends said that I should have given her another chance, but that firing her was an overreaction. Am I the asshole for firing my nanny for faking sick to get out of work? Story time about when I switched my wife's cat with a more well-behaved lookalike. 6 years ago, I swapped my then-girlfriend, now wife's cat with a more well-behaved lookalike. She had an all-black cat that was extremely aggressive. It scratched everyone, hissed at everyone, and didn't use the litter box half the time. My wife insisted that she could get it to behave better. One week, she went out of town to visit her family and I was supposed to go to her apartment and feed it. The first night I went over, it scratched the shit out of my arm. I joked to the cat that it's not special and I'll replace it if it scratches again. However, that joke stuck with me until I thought about it enough and it wasn't a joke anymore. The next morning, I went to a local animal shelter. I found an identical cat who was already litter box trained and acclimated to people but was a little skittish. Its old owner died of a heart attack and the animal shelter people think that that's why it was a little skittish. Overall though, it was a lot friendlier and better behaved and the skittishness would help resemble the original cat. So I adopted it, took it to my wife's apartment, settled it in, and then drove the original cat to an animal shelter a town over. I was paranoid that my wife would find out if I took it to a local one. I also double checked that the shelter I dropped it off at was a no-kill shelter. It's now been 6 years since then. We got married 4 years ago. We still have the swapped cat. It answers to the original cat's name. My wife knows nothing. She loves this cat and brags about how much better behaved it is. Every time I see it, I feel like a total piece of shit.
Am I wrong for not wanting to name our first child Black? My partner and I are having our first child, and I stupidly made a deal with them where they got to name our child if it was a boy, and I got to name it if it was a girl. I know, I messed up. Well, we are having a boy, and the names my partner are coming up with are not for me. I have managed to convince them to forget the deal we made, so at least that element is gone. But this does still mean they seem to have a little more say than I do in the situation. Anyway, the name they are really eager to use is Black. We both want something a bit different without being too hippity-dippity, and this is the outcome. Their reasoning is something along the lines of, colors as names are already a thing. Violet, blue, and black is just a cool color. They just think it sounds really cool. However, I think it's a bit odd since we are both white. It just seems to me like, yeah, it's a color, but it's more than that. It's a race, and a race is a pretty sensitive topic. They think this is crazy logic that has nothing to do with race, and making it about race is absurd. Just to clarify, we will not name our child anything we both don't agree on, but this convo has now become more about whether or not the name is just a color or something more charged, and neither of us can really see from the other's perspective. So, am I wrong here? Am I wrong for not lying about why I could not remove my headscarf? I, 24 female, am a bridesmaid for one of my closest friends, Jackie, 24. I've been so excited to help. I was in charge of the bridal shower, the games, decorations, and menu. I left the guest list to Jackie's sister. Due to religious reasons, I wear a headscarf. I love and am very proud of it. In the group chat with other bridesmaids, I was talking about how excited I am to attend a girls-only event. I recently dyed my hair and wanted to show it off. I even paid extra to ask for a girls-only staff that day. Day of, as guests arrive, I realize one of them is Tori, 26 female. I know Tori as a family friend of Jackie's, but the few times I met her, it was before her transition to female. I was aware of it, but unaware she was coming to the shower. I don't mind at all, of course, and she's a lovely person, but I decided to keep my scarf on. As everyone's eating later, I'm passing by the tables to make sure everyone's good, and one of my bridesmaids mentioned that they hadn't gotten to see my hair and they wanted to see it. I tried to dismiss it at first or say, oh, I'll show you later, but the other girls at the table got curious. I got uncomfortable and I just said, oh, I'm actually not really comfortable taking it off right now. When pressed as to why, I said there's guests I don't feel comfortable taking it off in front of. There was a collective, oh, and I thought, cool, that's over. But one girl got aggressive and asked if I was referring to Tori. She's loud and the other tables turned to look. I don't answer. The girl asks if I wear one around men, so I say yes. She then says there's no men here, so clearly you should take it off. I tell her again that I'm keeping it on. Another bridesmaid defends me and tells the girl to chill out. Tori comes over and says me not taking it off is a slap in the face to her identity. I'm just shocked and had no clue what to do. Eventually, Tori and a few girls left saying that they felt it was disrespectful. I feel awful that this ruined a beautiful day for my friend. It's causing more trouble with people threatening to leave the wedding over discrimination towards me or towards Tori. I don't think I was in the wrong. Just as Tori can be Tori, I can be me. I feel like it'd be the equivalent of me making Tori or someone else adjust for me. I feel like we should just accept and respect each other rather than be woke one-sided. My question is more about being honest as to why I couldn't. Jackie is on my side, but Jackie's sister is giving her hell for it, saying she purposely left out that detail in the guest list to test me. Jackie says I should have brushed it off and said I was having a bad hair day or avoid giving an answer. I didn't ever mention Tori's name in my answer, and I don't think my answer was rude, but seeing how much stress it's causing, I'm thinking I should have made up a lie. So, am I wrong for how I handled the situation?
Am I the asshole for causing a coworker to get written up by HR? I, 33 male, work at an office job with lots of different people. The other day in the break room, I was speaking with a coworker about the student loan system in the US. Another coworker, 36 female, who was eavesdropping, interrupted us. She said only people like her who have kids should get a say in what is taught in school. Not wanting to get into it, I tried to explain to her that that wasn't even what we were talking about. She kept replying that because I don't ever plan on having kids, I shouldn't have any opinion on the education system. This really annoyed me. Even though it made no sense as an argument and I told her verbatim, I'm not less of a person because I didn't pop brats out of me. Am I the asshole for causing a coworker to get written up by HR? I said I'm not less of a person because I didn't pop brats out of me. She got really flustered and left. The next day, I get called into our manager's office where HR rep and the coworker are waiting. The coworker goes on to say that I harassed by saying I told her she should have had her tubes tied and that she shouldn't be shooting 1,000 kids out. I was very annoyed and explained that that was certainly not what I said. My story was corroborated by 3 other employees. I, in turn, filed an HR complaint against the coworker for lying about me. Now she's under investigation, and this looks like it might impact a promotion. People in the office are saying I should have let it go, and it was over the line. Am I the asshole for throwing my husband's dinner in the garbage? We have a rather small kitchen. There's basically only 2 places to stand or work while cooking: in front of the counter or in front of the stove. I have frequently asked my husband to please stay out of the kitchen if I'm in there cooking because there's just no room for 2 people. He constantly ignores this request though. Last night he came into the kitchen at kind of a critical point while I had stuff in the frying pan and was preparing stuff on the counter. He stood in front of the stove and I was just waiting for him to move so that I could get to it. He then said, "It looks like it's burning. Are you even gonna do anything?" I yelled, "Move." He lectured me not to yell at him. By the end, his food was burnt and I threw it in the trash.
Story time about how I caught my grandma with my dad. So a little background information, I was 16, and it was the first day of 11th grade. Well, my friend wanted me to come to the mall with her after school that day. She was like, screw your grandma's birthday, just come to the mall with me. So the plan was I would sneak onto my best friend's bus after school and skip my grandma's birthday. By the way, my grandma was low-key a hoe. Like, half of her kids won't even bring their husbands around her, because after she got their numbers, she would end up sending nude pictures to them. Anyway, so the end of the day rolls around and I go to my locker to get my book bag when I'm called down to the office. So I go down to the office and my mom is there to pick me up because she said that we needed to do a few things before our grandma's party. Well, my grandma was at our house getting ready and my mom forgot her wallet at home, so when we went back home, I went to go put my book bag in the house. When I walk in and I see my grandma and dad on the couch, and I'm not even gonna say what they were doing, and my mom is walking past them like she didn't see anything. So after that, I called one of my aunts and asked if I could stay with her for a while, and now I don't talk to any of them.
Am I the asshole for pulling my daughter out of a wedding? The short story for the background is that I have bad anxiety that runs from okay to severe. I had a miscarriage several months ago and that really hasn't helped at all. Back in January, our friends asked if our daughter could be in their wedding as a flower girl. I was thrilled about it and we of course said yes. This was before the miscarriage. Since then, it became harder for me to focus on things. I admittedly was being flaky with planning on getting together with her for flower girl practice and things like that. I had a huge bout of anxiety right before their wedding and I refused to go or let my girls out of my sight. My husband was in the wedding party and he wanted to take her anyway. Am I the asshole for pulling my daughter out of a wedding? I had a huge bout of anxiety right before their wedding and I refused to go or let my daughters out of my sight. My husband was in the wedding party and wanted to take her anyway, but I told him he wasn't taking my daughter and they'd have to understand. She's just a flower girl, it's not a big deal and I just couldn't handle it. The
The bride is furious with me now. She called me screaming and told me how much of a B word I was for using my anxiety as an excuse not to come to the wedding and keeping my daughter away. She accused me of wasting her time and money. I told her she needs to read on mental illness and hung up. Now everyone's mad at me. My husband agreed with her for calling me a B word and said I was rude and inconsiderate. And I caused issues between him and the groom.